Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm really glad you're here. Today we're going to explore an interesting question that has puzzled people for a long time. What are the potential risks of choosing not to believe in a creator versus the cost of living as if there is one? Now, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm simply laying out the ideas so we can all think about them together. Imagine you're at a crossroads and you have to decide which path to take, but you're not sure where they lead. One path might offer something incredible, but the cost of not choosing it might be huge if that incredible possibility turns out to be real. In our video, we'll use a famous idea called Pascal's wager as a tool to help us think about this choice. So, whether you're a firm believer, a non-believer, or still unsure, stick around as we break it down in simple everyday language. Let's start by looking at the two ways people might choose to live their lives. On one hand, there are those who live by the idea that there is a higher power, a creator who not only made everything but also watches over us. They believe that by following certain rules or living a good disciplined life, they can receive amazing rewards. These rewards might be something like eternal happiness or the promise of a future that's far beyond anything we can imagine. On the other hand, there are people who decide to live without that idea. They choose to focus only on what they see around them here and now, on things that are finite and measurable. They might say, I don't need any promises of an afterlife. I'll just enjoy what I have in this life. Here's an everyday example to help you picture this. Imagine you're deciding whether to buy a very cheap insurance policy for your car. The cost is very low, maybe just a few dollars a month, but it protects you from a huge financial loss if something bad happens. Even if the chance of an accident is small, most people agree that paying a little bit now is worth it to avoid a big disaster later. In our discussion today, we're going to compare these two lifestyles. One way of living is like buying that low-cost insurance, a small regular investment for a chance at protecting yourself against a huge, even infinite risk. The other way might seem simpler or more freeing because it doesn't require you to follow strict rules or make extra efforts that some might see as costly in everyday life. So, whether you're thinking about following a set of higher principles or sticking to a non-believing approach, the key question becomes, which option helps you avoid a big risk, and what might that risk be? Now, let's introduce a very famous idea called Pascal's wager. This idea was first thought up by the French philosopher Blaise Pascal, and it's like a clever way to look at our big decision. Think of it as a little game or a bet where the stakes are enormous. Imagine a simple table with two choices and two outcomes. Here's how it looks. If you choose to believe or live by the belief in a creator, if a creator exists, you gain something truly amazing, like eternal happiness or a reward that lasts forever. If a creator does not exist, you might have spent some extra time on prayers or following certain rules. But the cost is only small, just like that tiny insurance payment, if you choose not to believe. If a creator exists, then you risk losing everything. Imagine facing an endless punishment or missing out on a reward that could have been infinite. If a creator does not exist, you might actually feel like you save time or money by not following any strict rules. But that's only a finite small gain. Let's bring in our everyday example again. Think of it like this. You're deciding whether or not to pay for an extra safety feature on your phone. The cost is small, but if that feature saves you from a big problem later like data loss or a security breach, then it's a great deal. Pascal's wager suggests that even if you're not 100% sure whether a creator exists, the small cost of believing is worth it compared to the huge risk if a creator does exist and you're not living in tune with that truth. So, by thinking in this way, The idea is that the risk for non-believers is so enormous that even if there's only a tiny chance the Creator exists, it makes sense to adopt the practices and habits of belief. It's like buying a really cheap insurance that protects you against the possibility of a disaster that could be infinite in scale. By using this framework, we can see how the decision isn't just about personal preference. It's about weighing a very small, finite cost against the possibility of an infinite outcome. And that's the heart of Pascal's wager. Coming up next, we'll look at what some people say about this idea and discuss real-life examples and objections. But for now, take a moment to think about this simple way of comparing risks and rewards in our lives. What happens on Judgment Day? Let's talk about what many religious traditions describe as Judgment Day, a time when our lives might be evaluated based on how we've lived. Now I understand that for many of us, the belief of Judgment Day can feel abstract. So, let me share a real-life example that might help clarify why this idea is taken seriously by many. Imagine you're at university. You work very hard every day, studying, attending classes, and doing assignments. All that effort is meant to help you pass your exams and earn your qualification. Now think about what would happen if you studied hard for years but never took the exam. No matter how much effort you put into studying, you wouldn't get your degree, and all that hard work would have been for nothing. In the same way, many religious teachings say that if there really is a creator, then there will be a final moment, often called Judgment Day, when our lives are reviewed. If you live by certain values or guidelines, it's like taking that exam and earning your qualification for eternal reward. But if you ignore those guidelines, it's as if you studied hard, but never showed up for the exam. All your potential benefits are lost, and you risk facing a consequence that many believe could be infinite. So, even if you're not 100% sure about Judgment Day, think of it this way. Just like taking your exam is essential to prove your knowledge and secure your future, preparing for this final judgment could be seen as a vital step for a secure eternal outcome. It shows how important it is not to let your efforts go to waste. Risk analysis and addressing common objections. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the risk analysis behind this decision. We want to understand why it might be wise to invest in a way of life that prepares you for a possible Judgment Day. Here's another everyday example that might help. Think about planning for your retirement. Most people don't know exactly what their retirement will look like or how the economy will perform, but many still contribute a small amount of money every month to a retirement savings plan. The cost of setting aside this money is small compared to the huge benefit of having a secure financial future when you're older. If you choose not to save anything at all, you risk facing serious financial hardship later on. Even if the chance of needing that retirement safety net seems small, the potential loss is enormous compared to the relatively tiny cost now. Similarly, when we talk about living by certain moral or spiritual guidelines, the investment, whether it's time, effort, or even certain lifestyle choices, is quite small when measured against the possibility of a very large, even infinite, reward, or the opposite, an infinite loss if a creator exists. Some might ask, but what if there is no creator? That's a common question. However, even if there's only a chance that a creator exists, which in fact is supported by 1,000 compelling reasons for his existence, the potential for an infinite outcome makes this a smart bet. It's like saying that saving a little money each month is worthwhile for the chance to secure your future, even if that future is uncertain. Another objection is about authenticity. People sometimes wonder if choosing to live in a certain way just because it's the safe bet is really genuine. Well, think about it like this. Many habits start as a practical choice, like saving money for retirement, and over time, Those habits become a natural part of who you are. The same can happen with your way of living. By investing in a disciplined, caring lifestyle, you may eventually come to experience that commitment as genuine, not just a precaution. So, this risk analysis shows us that a small, regular investment in living by certain principles can protect you against the possibility of a huge loss later on. It's a bit like preparing for your retirement. It might cost you a little now, but it can save you from a massive loss in the future. Alright, we've covered a lot today. Let's quickly recap. We discussed the idea that if a creator exists, there might be a judgment day where our lives are judged. Just like studying hard at university only pays off when you actually take the exam, living in a way that prepares you for a final judgment is essential. Then we looked at the risk analysis. By comparing it to something like saving a little for retirement, we see that a small, manageable cost now can protect you from a potentially enormous loss later. I'd love to hear what you think about these ideas. Do you see the value in making small investments now to protect against big, uncertain risks in the future? Or do you have a different perspective altogether? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share it with anyone who might be interested. Stay tuned for more discussions where we'll explore these topics even further and answer your questions. Thank you so much for watching and take care.